Hi, this is Seamus Haji and you're watching Loop TV.
Kat here for Loop TV with Seamus Haji in a fabulous sort of dressing room. I like this. How are you doing?
Very nice. Very well, thank you.
One of the things that always interests me about your sets is because it's really nice as a DJ and producer that you get to sort of drop in your own productions and do a lot of sort of little bit of trickery and cutting in on the fly. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, that's kind of how I got into DJing, you know. I didn't get into DJing to be the focal point, you know, for the attention of just playing music. I was always into the technical side of it. Yeah, mixing and scratching. That was my thing. I was very much into hip-hop. And so it was the technical side that got me into DJing, and I hadn't really intended to start DJing in clubs. It just kind of one thing led to another. And it was pleasing myself, I suppose. The art of mixing, and then it was like, oh, actually, this is DJing. So I suppose you're supposed to DJ to people in clubs. Led to me playing in a club environment. So if I do DJ in clubs, I like to be doing things all the time. I'm always really busy. I'm always doing something. Back in the day with vinyl, you'd be using 2 copies of things. You'd be phasing records. Like nowadays, you can just press a button on a mixer and it will phase the sound, you know? But back in the day, you'd have to get 2 copies of a record, get them lined up in exactly the same position to create a phasing effect, you know? Or maybe put one behind the other, 1 beat behind or half a beat behind to create a delay and run it behind. And you'd have to do things like that, whereas now you just press a button on a Pioneer mixer.
Let's go back to A&R. You've done a lot of that in your time with your A&R Head On 4, Defected and Slip and Slide. It must mean that you have a sort of really good ear for a new sound and sort of emerging things. What's exciting you at the moment?
I don't know. There's a lot of things. I think things go around in cycles, don't they? I think that I'm hearing things now that some of it sounds like stuff I was hearing 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but with a new twist. You know, there are guys now in their 20s who are making stuff that sounds like stuff that was around 20 years ago, but with a new twist.
It's quite exciting there now that we see sort of genres converging. There's sort of electro with house and even sort of indie crossing over and this sort of thing. Is that sort of quite an exciting thing when you look at A&R to find people who are doing something really different?
Yeah, I think there is some new stuff coming through. I mean, there are people who are kind of doing like the likes of Digitalism and people like that, you know, or Soulwax. These guys are kind of taking lots of influences and putting them together. But then you could look at what they're doing and say, well, it was influenced by Daft Punk, for example, you know, and then Daft Punk were influenced by whoever before them, you know, the French Touch, you know, and that stuff that was going on before them.
Let's talk about multiple personalities, because in the past you produced under a number of monikers, which Get This or Heart and Soul, or you've got 11th Dimension, and they've sort of allowed you to put out tracks with a sort of funky flavour or a bit of a cheeky flavour on the other ones. Why the monikers? People do it for different reasons. What was yours?
Well, when I left Defected, which was just at the beginning of 2002, and started Big Love, I guess it was a way of releasing my own productions, having my own imprint, and I wasn't really in the position to sign records from other people. I didn't really have the money or the reputation as a label. So I wanted to put records out, but I kind of wanted it to appear that they were by other people.
Now, I want to ask you 2 things. First of all, about that creative partnership with Paul, because that's been a really long-standing thing, and you guys obviously work really well together. And also how things changed for you once that profile had sort of gone through the roof and everybody knew Seamus Haji, and how that changed things.
Well, it was an interesting time, because I'm, out of the 2 of us, he DJs a bit, but he's more, you know, he's the engineer, producer, he always has been. And I met him many years before. We worked with each other. I remember when he was an in-house engineer back in '93 with Battery Studios, which was part of Jive Zomba. And even then I was doing remixes and production, and he'd engineered for me then. Then we got reacquainted when I was at Defected, and we worked together I think in 2001, 2002, and he'd engineered for me then. And I had some remixes and productions going on. We worked again, and then he was working for me on stuff, and we did more stuff together. He was a big part of the Big Love family, you know, a lot of the stuff that we did together. Then we started doing productions together and remixes together. And for the last 3 or 4 years, we've done campaigns every year for UEFA. So we've done music for full-on campaigns which have been for TV. The music's been played in, you know, in stadiums. Stuff people wouldn't know about that, and it's great to get into other areas.
Now, this is one of the things that's sort of quite exciting now, is people break into, whether it's their tracks on video games and, you know, PlayStation, or whether they move into film scores. Is that something that sort of you diversifying is the future in a way for producers?
Well, yeah, it'd be nice to, wouldn't it? You want to get your music out. You don't want to water down what you're doing. I mean, anything that we've done, especially with UEFA, it's all been house based. It's musically, it's what we do, and it's great to be able to do that in a different area, you know. And initially, when I was approached by the contact there, he just happened to like what we did, and he happened to like. He just liked. I think he heard one of my tracks. I think it was a track I did called "Race to Survival." It was on a compilation, and this English guy at UEFA heard it, and he just really liked it. He contacted me through our Big Love website, and that was it. One thing led to another.
Now, talking about where things can lead, where are things going for the next year? What's your sort of, what's the plan? Is there, you know, what's coming
plan.
up?
There's never been a plan.
I like that there's no plan.
There's never been a plan.
Some people, a lot of people have a master plan and they believe that's what guides them, but it's more organic for you in terms of where it's going to go.
Well, yeah, I think for me, I can remember when I left school, I started DJing, and the idea was I was going to study, and I remember I just sort of, the studying went out the window. I started working in record shops, and I just kind of went with it, you know. I went with what was happening. I went with it. I didn't know where it would lead. Luckily, it went in the right direction, you know. But I think, the plans are, look, I've started this head of A&R for Strictly Rhythm now, so I know what the plans are for that. There's a lot of new DJ producers out there that I'm bringing into the label. I know the people I want to work with. A lot of them I met here at ADE this year. And so I have a goal for that. And for me, I suppose I want to produce more records for next year. There's some people I'm going to do some collaborations with, and I'll keep doing, as long as the good remixes come in, I'll keep doing good remixes. I mean, there's been some good remixes this year I've done that I've enjoyed, like Jamiroquai and Estelle, artists like that. As long as good quality remixes come in, I'll keep doing them. I just keep doing this as long as people still want me to go and DJ and do remixes. And
you're going to be behind the decks with a Zimmer frame, I reckon.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Seamus, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Have a great gig tonight.
Thank you.
You're watching Loop TV.